Hello and welcome to the Matchbook Betting Exchange Irish Greyhound Derby podcast. Yes, indeed, we have done three of these already. This is our fourth PL, and we're getting into the serious stuff in the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. Before I go to the master himself, Paul Lawrence, just going to give you a mention that, of course, you can follow us on all these social media channels with Matchbook Betting Exchange, and of course, there is the Get 50 offer, where if you sign up, you get €50 back in free bets when you place bets up to €50 across four different markets. So that's that PL. Let's get straight into it. The Derby continued last Saturday night, and it's safe to say we saw one of the truly great performances from Bocco's Diamond yet again. We seem to be doing an awful lot talking about this dog, but I've written on this week's form guide, a freakish talent, and I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I never like that terminology, freakish, I must admit. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. He's just, we don't see too many of him. He's unique. I think that's probably a good description of him. And as we mentioned over the last 3 weeks, he just seems to be getting better, which is scary for the rest of the field. It's not like you say, oh, he's won the Derby already, because we've already said it's a very, very strong Derby. There are some really good greyhounds in this competition, and on a night, that we're getting down to the nitty gritty, the last 24 now, and any of them could win a derby. So it is exciting, but Bocco's Diamond is the one that everybody is looking at now.
Yeah, I've seen some things in my time at Shelbourne Park. I'm going there, yeah, close on 40 years. And I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like it. His display to the third bend again was just absolutely astounding. 16:63. To put that in old man's money, like 16:79 was the fastest time ever prior to the start of this year's Derby. He did a 16:68 in the second round, 16:63 in the third round, and of course kept going. 28.94, smashed the track record by 500ths of a second. Now, 500ths of a second it's a good 3 parts of a length. At the time, we thought Pastana's record would last for a long, long time, but here we are, just 4 years later, and yeah, sensational performance by Bocco's Diamond. The one thing about it, PL, you've mentioned it, such a deep derby. He's now in and around the 6-4 mark. You can see on the exchange 2.63. That's with the extra value you always get on the betting exchange, Matchbook Betting Exchange prices there showing on the ticker tape, and you can see it's 10-1 bar. It's hard to argue with that, but as a result, there's definitely value there. Like there's plenty of dogs at 12 and 14, 16-1 that can be in a derby final, and you know that as good as Bombay Diamond is, or Bocco's Diamond is, he's not going to be 1-4 in the Derby final. You'd imagine.
No.
They're so strong that most of these dogs that do get the final will only be a fraction of their price at present. In terms of the old fashioned each way value, there's dogs like Boyle Sports Bob and the Bull Falcon and dogs like that. That certainly at this point really do have to come into the reckoning. Especially with the traditional firms, quarter the odds and whatnot. But like, where do we stand with Bocco's Diamond? Like, what price would you like to be laying him at, or would you like to be laying him at all?
No, well, I wouldn't like to be on that. I did say last week I thought that 3-1 was perfectly fair, just to to break the fall with maybe the rest of the dogs that we put up. But we've still got some of the each way as well. Cheap Sandwiches is one I've put up, and I'm still a big fan of his, and I still think that he's another dog that can improve on his day as well. So the Bull Falcon was the other one, because I think he's a good competition dog. But even you got Deladi Dar, who's already an English Derby winner this year. So it is deep, as you say. It's just, when you use that terminology, freakish, it's just jaw dropping, eye opening stuff. He's just displaying incredible early pace. And where you mentioned Pastana was more of, he was a fast dog early, but he actually was, his alacrity at the traps, his braking style was brilliant, and he had the early pace with it. Bocco's Diamond's just doing it through raw pace, and then the 2-3, and that's why he's clocking those superb third bend times. And as you say, then he's not stopping. And I wouldn't say he's the strongest of strongest days, but when you're showing that much early pace and that much middle, there's not really too many dogs that are going to be challenging you. So he's got the free reign of Shelbourne Park coming off the last anyway, and you say he's not really stopping. So he's just a joy to watch in full flow, and it has lit up this derby, I must admit.
Yeah, we're in a situation where you look at his main market rivals, shall we say, the likes of Bombay Pat Cheap Sandwiches, to a lesser extent, the Laddie Dan March on Freddie, but he has so much early speed that if either of them get in behind, like they're just not going to be able to stay with him. They're not going to be close enough because they're not strong enough to pick him up. And
Yeah,
while there are dogs strong enough to pick him up, should he happen to be only a length or two in front at the third bend, but they really are struggling to keep up with him. The likes of Bull Sports Bob, the Bull
yeah,
Falcon, those types of dogs. You're in a situation where it's just really hard to see how he gets beaten unless he doesn't makes his own mistakes.
exactly.
Because on current form, if he's left alone in the first three strides, it's ball burst, game over. You spoke there of Pastana, who was, as you said, the alacrity from boxes, and he was so fast at trap rise, and yet Bucco's Diamond did a 3:30 the other evening. That's just the first sectional.
Yeah,
That's not an awful lot of racing. Like that's faster than Susie Sapphire ever went, faster than
yeah,
Pastana ever went.
yeah.
And I agree with you. Like if anything, Caragaldo was a fraction in front of him at trap rise. But to get racing so quickly, so
Quickly, yeah.
early, it's just impossible to just even figure out how you're going to get it beaten. But I suppose that's why he's 6-4 with, in the last 24 with still 3 runs to go, and the noise of Derby final crowd and all that to keep concerned about. And it is worth pointing out that Derby final this year is going to be in the middle of the sort of the Christmas sort of buzzy area. It's going to be pretty loud. Have no fear about it. But yeah, Baco's Diamond, he's 12 in a row now, PL. I think that sort of sums him up. He's just a truly brilliant greyhound. Looking back through them, Bombay Pat and Cheap Sandwiches currently around the 10-1 joint favourites for second, in second place in the market. The Laddie Da, March on Freddie, next to Callaway Kinnegare, and then it's 19 Bar. Like it's hard to say that there's real value elsewhere because if Baco's Diamond, as we said, does things right, he's going to be very hard to beat. But when you look at some of the dogs that we're talking about, given the fact that there's only 3 runs to go and they're double figure odds, like there is loads of value out there. You can't be just afraid of one greyhound.
No, the thing is, you're right about the one anomaly for Bocco's Diamond could be the final night. That's the only
Mm.
one anomaly because essentially he has to lead or he has to be in front by the third bend to win in a final that's chock full of classy greyhounds that have earned their right to get there. But he's, as I say, he's not doing it. He's not He's not that one trick pony where he's got to trap. He's just that brute early speed
Mm.
for 3 bends, and it's not like you're going to say, "Oh, well, he's vulnerable here off the last," because he's not. So when you do that clock into the third bend and you do the track record, like as you say, even if you got Ball Sports Bob behind you, Bocco's Diamond needs to get in some kind of argy bargy for a dog like Ball Sports Bob or even the Bold Falcon to come and claim him late if he doesn't get a clean run to that third turn, because there's no dangers. He's still going to be, even if he gets a bump at the start, he's still going to be up there prominent. So it's really difficult to see him not be in the Derby final. That's the thing. And no, I wouldn't want to be laying. Ultimately, I don't want to lay this dog because he is such a super fast dog, and I don't see too 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 much vulnerability in him. If you see
Yeah.
what I mean, I don't see
No,
that you
I
can
hear
really
you.
pick holes in his form. So
We're at a stage in this year's Derby where if you actually look at the names that have gone out, not too many have really gone out. Like a lot of the fancy greyhounds are still there. So
yeah,
a lot of people that did get involved in the anti-post market probably still have 1 or 2 running. Now, given the fact that Baco's Diamond has just gone, it's like it just gone through the stratosphere. Um, Not too many of them are actually shorter prices than they were, really. Like you consider after the opening round, March on Freddie looked
yeah,
so good. He
he
does
did.
a 29.19. He was brilliant. He ran very well in the second round. Even last week, great credit to the way he ran. And yet he's 12-1 now. Like I remember a point he was 6-1, but that's
Yeah,
purely down to Baco's Diamond, like just trying to balance the books. Bombay Pat the same. He's gone unbeaten through this Derby. He's as big a price now as he was before the start, nearly. Like
yeah,
after his opening round victory, he was around 6 or 8 to 1. Cheap Sandwiches is he's one maybe that if you did take the 25, 33 to 1, you could do a little bit of laying at 10 to 1, but like you're not. All you could do is really lay your stake back, and what's
yeah,
the point, really? You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's it's really yet to come alive for the other dogs. Now that will happen with semi-finals and finals. As we said, their prices will contract. At present, PL, just before we get into the heats themselves, is there anything at around the 25, 33, 40 to 1 mark that would just interest you with a view to maybe getting to the final? You never know your luck.
In all truth, Ian, probably not. The one dog that I actually think, and obviously we'll go and look at the heats. The one dog that I think could be there come final night is Deladi Dar. If he gets, I think he'll go very close in his heat. So he's probably he's about 12, 14 now on the Matchbook Exchange. So he's probably a little bit bigger than he was initially, but he's still there and he keeps going. One greyhound that we both like is a Lucky Julie. So that could be one at a big price.
Just looking at it, like she's around 40. That just
she'd
seems
be the one maybe.
She absolutely hammered home last week. Like when you consider the company she's keeping, she's charging home behind Extra Gain, March on Freddy, she's holding Tono Charlie. Like it was a really eye-catching run. The problem with her is, and we saw it in defeat last week, was she flashed out and she just couldn't hold her position into the corner. But as we said, as it gets hotter, it's the strong runners that you want to be keeping an eye on for qualifying. And I thought of all the strong runners, she was the one that was greatly priced. I was going to point to her as well. I still think Undulation, there's a little bit of juice in her price as well. She's got a kind draw the next night. Now, she'll still want to be doing everything right. The Untold Dollar is doing everything. Like, he's doing plenty right, but he's still a frustration to me. He's just not showing the same, sharpness at boxes that he needs to show. And Carrick Aldo, he's a 20, 25 to 1 chance. He ran some racing defeat last week. He's the second fastest qualifier from the third round. Yeah,
he surely did. Yeah, he was very, very impressive. And I think actually he stayed closer to Bocco's Diamond last time than he did the previous round. And I agree with you there as well. He was really, really impressive. As you say, he got outpaced by Bocco's Diamond to the bend, but he didn't give up. And where was it? The Bold Falcon went past him in the previous round. He kept going the last time. So that is testament. And it's. I was just going to pick up at something that you said, is that we keep seeing these runs and the eye catchers. But you've got to keep doing that, haven't you? And you as you're going deeper into a derby, you've got to do it against a better class of dog, because there's no weak heats now. This is the real deal. This is where
it's actually quite the opposite, isn't it, PL? Like I do the form guide on top of the card in Shelbourne Park, and you have to pick a first, second, and third. And there were heats going, I can't believe I have to leave this dog out.
Exactly.
Given the draw, I think I left Ballinabola Jim out of my first three.
Yeah.
And that's purely because I think the Laddie Da will qualify in the inside. So, well, what do I not? I don't tip up Bombay Pat. Well, he's absolutely flying. He's got his kind draw. March on Freddy's drawn for me in the right side of Ballinabola Jim. And we know how fast he is. So I made a point there. It's either I could have gone for March on Freddy or Ballinabola Jim to win the race. And yet I was left with a decision. Which one do I pick to leave out of the frame completely? That's the way it's gone. I can't remember at this stage in the Derby where each and every heat had 3 or 4 dogs that were all capable of going on to win a Derby. Yes, we have this anomaly where Bocco's Diamond is producing runs we've never seen the likes of, and he's very much the one to beat. But I'll tell you what, you take out Bocco's Diamond out of this Derby, and it's still one of the all-time great derbies. It's an unbelievably deep derby. Anything else you want to mention from the third round? Anything to caught the eye, or will we pick them up as we go along?
Yeah, we'll pick them up as we go along, I think. But I still wax lyrical about Cheap Sandwich. I still think he's a greyhound that keeps going forward. I think he's a good competition dog because, again, he's got early, middle, and he stays all right. So, on a night, he's capable, and I'm sure there's a little bit more to come from him as well. It's scary.
He's improved every night, PL.
He has.
His run the other evening, his maneuver around Hawkfield Blue, he made Hawkfield Blue look like a grader for 50, 60 strides. He probably gave Hawkfield Blue the guts of a length of boxes. He's with them on the corner, goes around him like he's like the inside runners in super glue, and he's in doing a Scalextrics impression, and he goes 5 clear down the back straight. Like I was mightily impressed by Cheap Sandwiches. He is a greyhound that's just really come alive for the
Yeah,
step up to 550. He loves
yeah,
the longer runs to the corner, and
definitely.
he's absolutely, and it's a term we've used a few times in this derby. He's absolutely buoyed with confidence, given there's one or two dogs that probably aren't, like Untold Dollar is still worrying about himself. Callaway Kinnegar perhaps is worrying about himself a little bit, and they need that confidence filler. While
Yeah.
Cheap Sandwiches is absolutely just like he's like he's walking out of his house and he's strutting. He's strutting to the shops like he's just full of confidence.
He is. And one thing I will say, and you'd know this more than anybody, I think, and we kind of preempted this. We saw it from a long way off that a lot of the pacier dogs, shall we say, were wide seeds. So
Yeah,
you've ended up with quite a few dogs, and where you worry generally, where there's maybe some inside seeds that are getting drawn out 4 or 5 even, that we're not really getting that. We're
no.
getting now where the wide seas are jostling for their ideal boxes and their ideal positions. But this is where as analysts, if you like, we have to dissect these races to say who's going to get the clear run, where's this stayer going to turn, is this early pacer going to get the lead he needs. So this is where it really gets interesting, because you're now talking about the upper echelon of the greyhound world, and the big prize money on offer just draws everyone there. And the fact that we've got March on Freddie in the mix as well just makes it so special.
With 3 to qualify, PL, just look through the 9 wide seeds. March on Freddie, Balnabola Jim, Bombay Pat,
Yeah,
Lucky Julie, Cheap Sandwiches, Boyle Sports Bob, Carrigaldo, and Bocco's Diamond and Seven Beach. Every single one of them is odds on to qualify. Now, they can't all qualify. That's just the nature of the market, given the fact that you only have to finish in the first 3,
yeah,
right? But every single one of them is odds on. And many of them are long, long, long odds on. Now, the chances are, like with the Laddie Da drawn in Trop 1 in Heat 1, that one of March and Freddie, Balnabola Jim, or Bombay Pat is not going to qualify.
yeah,
So, like, you have to account for the likes of that. But like a Lucky Julie and Cheap Sandwiches is going to be out front. A Lucky Julie's going to be doing it from behind, right? Easily, the two of them qualify. I'm not saying they will easily, but they could easily both qualify. Boyle Sports Bob, very different greyhound to Carrigaldo. Carrigaldo's going to set the pace, you'd imagine.
yeah,
And Boyle Sports Bob is going to be coming through beating runners. He is so powerful, doing 29.20 for fun off the back. Like, what could he do with a start? Now, he's going to need to start pretty sharpish, going forward, but it's going to be very hard to keep out of frame. And then to the last heat, Bocco's Diamond. Like, he's going to be 3 on to win the heat. Could be even shorter in the night, given the way the industry SPs have gone.
yeah,
He could be as short as 4 or 5 to 1 on to win. Like, he's probably 20 on to qualify. And Seven Beach, who never runs a bad race. I thought ran remarkably well the other evening, having got sent
yeah.
sideways on the
Did.
opening corner. And again, he's going to be a very short price to qualify. So we are in a situation where we potentially, worst case scenario, could have 6, 7 wide seeds in 2 semi-finals.
Yeah,
And with the potential that all 9 go through. And all of
yeah,
a sudden you have a situation where maybe one of the confirmed wide seeds, and I'm not sure there are that many of them. I'm not sure how many of them wouldn't handle trap 3 or 4,
yeah,
but there's definitely a position where Bocco's Diamond could find himself in trap 3 next week. Like, given the fact that Connections toyed with the idea of making him
yeah.
an inside
That's not
seed,
going to
I
worry
don't
him.
think that's
Yeah,
a concern.
no,
It's just maybe the concern about getting him out of traps. Will he
yeah,
break as well from in there? But
yeah,
we have to keep that in mind.
yeah. And I think that's, as I mentioned earlier on, that's the thing that with whatever, when you're looking at a greyhound race, it's so important, the trap draw and the lines that the dogs are going to take and the style of running. So that's, really, we should probably dive in now and take a look and see where we think the dogs are going to qualify, and if there is any value. I just think, actually, looking at the first heat of round 4, Delardi Dar is one of those where you can gain a bit of value out of a dog that isn't going to get too much of an adverse draw, because I've always said about Delardi Dar, he can run in a straight line from 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Mm.
And see too many now adverse draws he's going to get. In all truth, so he is one now I've got my eye on, because as we mentioned, Liam left him half cooked into this derby. There's no
Mm.
danger of that, and this dog, he's no back number. He's no back number. He's a good competition dog. There's another thing I mentioned. It's 6 rounds. He'll be going through the line as hard as any. So Deladi Dar is a dog that I really like, and I think the makeup of his is pretty favourable.
He's currently around the 4.0 sort of 3-1 mark. I'll be honest. I'm obviously a huge fan of the Laddie Da. He did me a turn this year in Toaster. Could have easily done me a turn in last year's Irish Derby, but less we mention of that, the better. Even though I seem to mention it every time I mention him. But this is a kinder draw than last week. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
I really did fear for him last week.
Me too.
And as it was actually a good thing that he missed the kick, because given the traffic that happened on his inside, he would have been right smack bang in the middle of it. He got a dream draw. I was a bit surprised he didn't win from where he was, but at the same time, he probably wanted to be on the same racing line as Ballymacbriar. I just feared that if he doesn't hit the lids, Superfast Gordon will definitely edge off, but Check for Cash, we saw the early speed he showed last week. He absolutely drove into the corner and cut the nose off YI Bunny Lad on his inside. And that's my fear for the Laddie Da. Then you have the likes of March on Freddie, Balnabola Jim, and Bombay Pat on the outside. So for me, and this probably goes to every single Greyhound bet I've ever placed, I'd like to place it after 2 yards to see how it's shaping. But his race will come down to whether he can repeat that 3:35 or not. And I think if he doesn't, I think he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is that he's capable of a start. He's capable of holding his pitch against Superfast Gordon. Check for Cash, as you say, and I think Check for Cash wants to be in Trap 3, by the way. But I think Check for Cash is more cutting across when there is daylight. Now, if he doesn't get the daylight, I don't think he'll cut across. You understand what I mean? I think he'll more do that. If
the Laddie Da holds him into the corner, he's fine. Yeah.
And Deladi Dar can break, and I think it was you that earlier on in the year was his record from Track 1 is very, very good. It was only that semi-final from last year that he kind of did fluff his lines, but he's perfectly okay in Track 1, as he showed, in round 2. So, and I just think that he's got dogs need to run in straight lines. March on Freddie's in 4, and I don't think that'll worry him. I think March on Freddie will stay straight from 4.
I think that's the best draw he could have had in that contest.
Agreed. Balnabola Jim, I've said to you last week as well, I thought he was edging in, so he'll probably actually want to go. He'll want to move in a little bit from 5. And Bombay Pat's probably got his draw, but Bombay Pat's still got speed to clear with the likes of Jim and Freddie.
Yeah,
and Bombay Pat isn't what you call hitting the start. He's not timing the start brilliantly, and this is what I mean about now. He's up a level now against opposition. And as much as I love the dog, he's still got to. He can't fluff his lines too much at the start. This is where in makeup of races, and this is one of those races. He's now in against a much better quality of dog than he's been meeting. He's been odds on as a big short price himself. So these 3 dogs, I agree with you that they might not all come round together. That's the danger. I think there could be some rubbing of shoulders, and there could be some bumping going into the first turn. And Check for Cash is probably something for March on Freddie to think about. I think March on Freddie might be too brave for his own good, because he is throwing himself around the bend, and he is cutting in, and he's got in a couple of spots in the last 2 rounds.
It cost him absolute certain victory last week.
He did.
Yeah.
So there are some dogs that will stay wide, and I think you're right with Bombay Pat. He'll do that. So that is a plus for him. Jim will be moving in, and he's another one. I said to you, he's so brave on a bend. He for a big dog, he goes into a bend with his eyes wide open. And because he's a big dog, he
He's
can handle
balanced, isn't
himself.
he? He's balanced, like.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, for a dog his size, you expect him take a bump, take 50 strides to get going again. This fella last week just danced around the second bend to get, like, his momentum was regained as quick as you like
Yeah.
after that bump. Just,
Yeah.
it was so impressive. Yeah, I get you.
So this is a really, really tough heat. And I've got to tell you, out of the 4 heats, I actually saw the most value, if that makes sense, by making a play in this race. And that was to bet a dog that I don't think can get a touch, and that's Deladi Da.
Yeah,
I thought I made Deladi Da favourite, and I think 3-1's over what I made him. And the other dog was March on Freddie, because I think that March on Freddie can hold Bowler Jim and Bombay Pat. And I actually think that he will run in a fairly straight line. Now, as I say, he's just got that little bit of check for cash to worry about. But like you always say, there's always that big long 2 to 3 as well, and that's he's got
yeah,
bundles of pace. March on Freddie. So if he turns unscathed, if he can hold Bowler Jim early and not get the bump, and then Bombay Pat does sort of half miss it a beat, then I think he'll be very, very prominent himself. So that was the way I saw it. It's not. There are a lot of scenarios, Ian, and a lot of things. Everything's going to be, who's going to get their Sunday best break. I must admit, but I think my first pick would end up being Deladi Da in this race.
yeah. I'll definitely play prices in this heat. In a
Yeah,
sense where I have a feeling, and we've seen that a bit during this derby. I have a feeling prices, while they've been pretty straight across the board, accurate enough given the industry SPs. I have a feeling this one could be completely different come the off. If they don't come for Bombay Pat, this could be a 5-2, 11-4 to field race.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's every chance. Like, we're on a few WhatsApp groups and whatnot at this time of the year with various competitions and bits and pieces going on, and certainly one group that I was suggesting, or I'm on, someone suggested that March on Freddie could be as big as 4 or 5-1 tonight. Now, I couldn't have that. Like, if I've stuck him a 7-2 on the card, but like, I could see this dog going off 5-2, 11-4, 3-1 even. He's on
yeah,
the right side of his, certainly his 2 wide seated runners.
yeah,
And again, I agree with you. I think 4 is probably ideal for him. Once he starts on terms, I like the way he's going about it. He was a little bit scratchy in the opening corner the first night, and even the second night. Last week, he was trying to throw himself around it, and that's what caused him the hassle.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if he got a start, I genuinely, I, I think he's got probably the value in the contest now. I've tipped up Bombay Pat, so it's one of those races where I'll be on the exchange with a minute or two to go to the off. And if March on Freddie was a big price, I'd be tempted. If the Laddie Da was a bigger price, I'd be tempted. Even Bombay Pat, if he goes to a silly price, I'd be tempted. I don't think he'll be back in Ballinabula Gym. I just think there's probably too much speed either side of him. Now,
yeah.
that doesn't mean he can't win or qualify. He certainly can. He's won 7 on the bounce. Dog's absolutely flying, and he can certainly handle himself. He's 90 pounds weight. But just given the fact that he has both sides to worry about, I'd be sort of less enthusiastic. But for me, it's more of a watching brief until I see the prices very close to the off, because at current price I couldn't really back in with any real sort of conviction.
No, I just marked down the best price in the village, and
Yeah,
I thought 3-1 Deladi Da, and Ian, those prices in from different bookmakers, fixed odds bookmakers, they're actually those best prices are going to be mirrored and probably even better on the Matchbook
of course
exchange
they will. Of course they will. Yeah.
come the
Well,
the off time.
they're betting to 120%. Like, the exchange is going to be betting to 100.5%
Yeah.
on the off. You know what I mean?
So
It's a completely different world.
my 2 probably at the prices at the moment, I was Deladi Da just in front of March on Freddie, and then I just had Bombay Pat slightly in behind them, and then Jim, and then I think the other 2 lads, Superfast Gordon and Check for Cash, have got plenty to do in this sort of lineup, because this is a very, very hot heat.
Yeah, no question about it. We go on to Heat 2. Cheap Sandwiches will be an odds-on favourite here, and I think a very deserving odds-on favourite. Untold Dollar is seen as his main market rival in 1, but a Lucky Julie will have her supporters, and another 1 or 2 that just could nibble as well. Ballymacbriar ran well to win last time out.
He
I think
did.
there's better than the 2968 in his card, no question about that. And Sing Along Dolly. I said it during the week, PL, to someone. It was actually in the GRI podcast that I did. Sing Along Dolly, she shows more early speed when she gets a start. When she misses the kick and she's behind runners,
Yeah.
it's a case of no, I'll just
Yeah.
hang on here and pick my way through. But if she hits the lids, suddenly she's going to be around 10 on the exchange. I think that could quickly represent a little bit of value. But don't get me wrong, we are very much firmly in the cheap sandwiches camp. I've Untold Dollar tip from the start of the competition, and a Lucky Julie we've already nominated as perhaps the value option in terms of the anti-post book. So this is one of those contests where, again, you could be playing big prices. You could dutch 2 or 3 of them if you're taking on cheap sandwiches. At the same time, if cheap sandwiches goes to close to even money, you know where I'll be. I'll be on cheap sandwiches because I think he has a 4 to 6 chance all day and every
Yeah,
night.
that's what I made him 4 to 6. I must admit, and he's about kind of 8 to 11. But no, I made him 8 to 11. Sorry, he's 4 to 6. So I would need probably 4 to 5 to back him really, because again, there are different scenarios. I thought that actually BeGambleAware actually is probably one of the big keys to the race, in that if he starts, he's going to give Untold Dollar something to think about, and he'll be sitting on the bend. He's going to give Sing Along Dolly something to think about. And you're right, you're 100% right about Sing Along Dolly. When she hits it, and she did when she came in as a reserve in the first round, she stopped Hawkfield Blue coming round, didn't she? I think she ran from track 4. And she banged out. And she's one of those, she's never really going to miss it and rush up. And essentially, she stays very well. So she's got good all-round pace. And again, that makes her a good competition greyhound. But she has got to clear 2 very, very good greyhounds called Untold Dollar and BeGambleAware. So, that again, scenarios, and it'll be all who traps really. Mustang Fever has been showing a little bit of pace, but he really did get put in his place by cheap sandwiches in the previous round. And the Lucky Julie doesn't have to lead, and she can come through. And again, Connections would take third now and get her into
She
the
she she
semi-finals.
she is capable of a flying start,
She
but she
is.
just can't hold her pitch into the opening corner. But she doesn't do anything stupid.
No,
That's what I like about her. She doesn't dive in left or check off wide.
no.
She'll keep her line, and if she's passed, she'll wait for the gaps and then go again off the second bend. And then cheap sandwiches on the outside. Now, cheap sandwiches is a decent enough starter, and he actually did take a slight step to his right the last night. So I think 6 is his ideal draw, and
Yeah,
you'd imagine he should have the early speed to clear a Lucky Julie. Like March on Freddie gave her the guts of a length last week and got around her. He's nearly leading her a length on the opening corner. I would suggest Cheap Sandwiches has a touch more early speed than March on Freddie. So I would expect him to probably go round in front on the outside. But with just the asterisk that if BeGambleAware or Sing Along Dolly took a flyer, they could be on his inner. But just the way Cheap Sandwiches is running at the moment, the way he ran those opening 2 bends the other evening, that'll stay with me for a while. I think he's going to be very hard to beat. But as I said, if he's odds on, and I'll be taking a look at seeing what there is at big prices. Like there was 1 or 2 last week. They were available at 50 and 80 and 100 on the exchange, and just for a euro or two, it's worth. You never know what might happen. You know what I mean? The one I didn't do it for was Extra Gain because I couldn't see him figure in any way, shape, or form. And these are the things you regret thereafter. But
yeah,
yeah, Untold Dollar. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I'm finding thoroughly frustrating. He's just not doing enough early. I mean, in the first 5 strides, he's actually
yeah,
showing plenty of early speed. But
yeah.
last week, he was definitely he was half giving up on the opening corner PL. He didn't drive through. Now, he did enough to nudge the dogs on his outside wide and found himself in front. But if he doesn't start on this occasion, he's in a world of pain, isn't he?
He must, yeah. He might just get trapped on the rails a little bit, because he just, as you say, he kind of seems to, if he's got traffic, he sort of panics a little bit and just runs off somewhat. And again, it's probably because he's actually got good speed, and dogs do that sometimes. But he just might find himself surrounded by a little bit of traffic here. Don't get me wrong, drawn on the inside of it, that's going to help him turn. But with that, he's got that trait of edging off a little bit. It might just work against him. But I make him second favourite, and I actually make him about 11 to 4, and you can get 3 to 1, because he is a very, very quick dog. And I don't forget him as well. When he was in the select stakes, he was rushing up on the inside, and again there he just got crowded out a little bit. So you're right in that, he was your value pick for anti-post bet about 33-1, I think he was, and he's still holding his pitch, so he's still there. It's just scenarios. It's can he break? Because if he breaks and he claims up on the inside, then he's going to give Cheap Sandwiches a race. You know, if
Yeah.
he can get loose from Briar and Dolly, then he's a big runner. So it's
The
just
fact that
about what
the
happens at
fact that he
League One.
did get loose last week after the opening corner may just stand to him. You know,
Yeah,
again, come back to confidence. But again, I won't be getting involved at 3-1. I think I'd want bigger than that.
a bit bigger. Yeah,
Just because that opening corner last week, even though he got through, it was just worrying signs that he just didn't drive it, and that's my fear. Lucky Julie, I think, is probably she's probably my second choice in terms of, you know, pricing and whatnot. But as I said, I'll be looking at big prices, and Sing Along Dolly would interest me at double figure odds. But yeah, Cheap Sandwiches is without question the one to beat. I'm have to mention about 8 of them there at this stage. On to Heat 3. And here, Carrigaldo has been backed into favouritism already earlier in the week. He's around the 6-4 mark PL, and I can see where people are going with that issue. There is probably the only one that can really challenge him in the opening yards, and even then, you'd expect Carrigaldo to completely outpace her into the opening bend. Boyle Sports Bob and the Bull Falcon are both running very, very strongly. They're absolutely motoring from halfway. Undulation finally turned in the pitch last week, absolutely hammered to the third bend and ran on strongly to hold Boyle Sports Bob, and extra gain while he rode his luck. He still had to dig in to hold off some very talented trackers in behind. Now, he'll be a huge price issue. There will be a massive price. But after that, I couldn't really put you off any of the other 4. Again, this was one of those heats where I had to leave one of them out of the frame. And while I can make a case for Undulation, she was the one I chose to leave out of frame. And I'm sort of second guessing myself. It's very hard to sort of pick which 2 will get after Carrigaldo, shall we say. Carrigaldo's the favourite. I'm not sure this is the makeup he wants. Yes, he'll get loose, but one of the big guns is going to get in behind him. And
yeah,
it's a case of which one.
yeah. You're right in that respect. He looks guaranteed to lead, really. I think he's got more early. Undulation's to probably the out of the stayers that could start, and she has been fluffing her line. She just got a better break last time out, and Ball Sports Bob couldn't back run her. And I think if you're analysing a race, you'd probably say, well, that's about right, really. The fact that Ball Sports Bob is good enough to come second and third, that's what makes him that good Derby style competition dog. But you're right here. He's also got the Bold Falcon to think about, and he's coming hard off the last bend. So I was the same as you. I thought the most straightforward selection here, and I made him about I think I made him 13-8, something like that, Carrigaldo, and I think the sponsors make him that, and he was a little bit bigger with one of the firms. And as you say, there's probably been a bit of nibbles for it, but Carrigaldo, because of that effort last week, and if you're utilising a guide against the favourite in the competition, Bocco's Diamond, he got beat 5 lengths in the second round, and he got beat 3 lengths in the third round, and he just seemed to stay that little bit better. His third bend clock to his run home time tells you that as well. So again, maybe David Murray might have left something to work on, and he might just be staying that bit better now. If he leads, you're going to say, where is Undulation going to turn behind him? How close can she get to him? She will be, trying to close him down because she runs home very, very well. And then the Bold Falcon and Ball Sports Bob, you expect them probably to get tap for toe. And then the Bold Falcon's got to get round extra gain somehow. So again, scenarios, is she there? She's going to move in. Ball Sports Bob might just get plenty of room. If Carrigaldo gets out of the way, and is she there, moves in, then he's going to operate. And I said this to you a couple of pods ago. When Ball Sports Bob he actually got his momentum totally taken away from him, and he still had the wherewithal to come off the last bend and come around the last 2 turns and hammer home. When he is given room to operate, he's a very, very dangerous dog because he's got good speed from halfway, and he comes home probably the best of the dogs left in the competition. He'll be coming home best. So it's hard to see him not in the first 3 here. It's difficult to see him because I think he'll get a reasonably clear run. So yeah, I was Carrigaldo, but yeah, that caveat that you're going to get a strong dog turning behind him. It's how loose he can get, how clear can he get into that third turn.
This really is an exchange price dog. Your Carrick Aldo. Like if he's 6-4 solid, it's a case of you stick or twist. You either
Yeah,
lay or back,
yeah,
and there will be people with very strong views. Um, I've tipped him up to win the heat. He's the most likely heat winner, perhaps. But at 6-4 on the exchange before the off, if I have Undulation, the Bull Falcon, and Boyle Sports Bob on my side, I think I'd lay rather than back.
yeah,
At those prices, and
yeah,
and I think you're going to get some sport there because one of them has to get a run at him. Like even you said there about the Bull Falcon, I think there's every chance he might clear extra gain. He has shown enough. Yeah, he's shown enough
yeah,
in previous outings. Like you go back to a 5.75 run he had there in Shelbourne, he did a 4.71. Like, that would lead extra gain
yeah,
every day of the week.
yeah,
Um, you know, is she there is now really taking a jump up. Like she's been running well and whatnot, but this is completely different level. And
yeah,
who's to say that Boyle Sports Bob isn't due a bit of a start? Like, this fella could potentially turn second. Now, it's probably slight odds against, but I'll tell you something. If he turns second, Caracaldo will want to be doing everything that he did last week, 29.15, the whole Boyle Sports Bob,
yeah,
because he's doing 29.23 last week and he 29.25 in the first round. And he didn't run a yard into the opening corner neither of those nights. And he's definitely quicker than that into
yeah.
the bend. So yeah, I think I'd be a layer of Caracaldo. Now, would I back one of the others, or would I just happy to lay? I'd probably just lay rather than trying to pick one of the other three because I'd like to have the three of them running for me. So yeah, I'd be a layer of Caracaldo at the prices. Certainly, I made him around a 2-1 9-4 chance. I sort of went 2-1 9-4 to field with him and Boyle Sports Bob in and around the same price, and then slightly bigger the other two, and you get any price you want about extra gain and issue there. I think an extra gain situation, you couldn't have actually picked a worse field for him because he's going to be trying to pick his way through.
Yeah.
And like best of luck trying to pass the Bull Falcon, Undulation, and Bull Sports Bob, and forget about Carrick Aldo, who could be literally 10 clear of extra gain at halfway. So that's not on the cards. Yeah. That's heat 3. Yeah, I'm not sure I've even tipped up one yet at this stage. And to heat 4, I probably won't tip one up either here either. Bocco's Diamond 1-3 PL. There's not much you can really say about this, is there? A couple of nibbles earlier in the week for Callaway Kinniger. People are taking a view that he seems to be coming back to himself a bit, but I thought he could have driven the third bend a bit better last week. I just
Yeah.
wonder the step up to 550. He's found plenty of traffic in his 3 or 4 starts over the trip, and just seems to be a confidence issue. I know we've used that word an awful lot today, but Callaway Kinniger, the engine is still there, but where's he going to get the run?
Yeah, that's the thing. And you're right. I think he actually did probably out of all of his efforts in the derby, that was his better effort in the last round. So there is a little bit of hope because we do know that if you put him in a solo trial, he'll go as quick as most of the dogs in this derby. But again, it just looks a decent makeup for Bocco's Diamond. You just, as I say, when we started talking about him, I can't find any holes in the dog. I just can't. And again, I mentioned about now Seven Beach. I can't see how Seven Beach is going to get anywhere near Bocco's Diamond. I did say I thought that he probably should be drawn middle. He certainly would have a better chance if he was drawn inside Bocco's Diamond. But the dog that kind of came back to some decent enough form was Hawkfield Blue as well. We kind of put him up as a big price, didn't we, as treble figure odds in the anti-post market. And he ran against Cheap Sandwiches, but then he wasn't good enough. So if he isn't good enough to beat Cheap Sandwiches, he's not really going to be good enough to beat Bocco's Diamond. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's, I think 2 to 5 is his best price. I don't think he'll be 2 to 5 on the day. I think he'll be 1 to 4. I just think that
I agree with you.
He'll just be smashed into.
He has a couple of fast starters in his inside Hawkfield Blue. Like he did 3:38 last week in Short Grip. Just seems to be coming into herself at 3:38. It's clear from Short Grip that the weakest part of her race is sort of halfway down the back into the third bend.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue because even if she does happen to lead Bocco's Diamond, he's absolutely hammering down the back straight.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to make a case for either of those because, I just can't see a world where Hawkfield Blue can lead Bocco's Diamond unless the latter makes a mistake at trap price. Seven Beach is potentially the one that could offer the most resistance. But as you said, I think if he's ever going to beat Bucko's Diamond, he's going to need to be on his inside
Yeah,
and get an absolute worldie of a start.
yeah,
As it is, he's going to have to go around Bucko's Diamond, and that is basically
not easy.
impossible.
Yeah,
So if you are looking to take on Bucko's Diamond, maybe just in the straight, like, I suppose that's why Callaway Kinnegar came in for the small bit of support. But like, even then, Bucko's Diamond just wins PL, doesn't he?
I think. Oh, I think so. I can't. I can't see. I can't see. I think the makeup of the race. You just can't see how he gets beat. Really, I just think if he does what he's been doing, um, he'll be too clear at the first bend, and that then he'll be gone. And there's nothing back around him. So that's what I
So
think.
that's it. 4 heats. We have a wonderful derby, and we have 4 unbelievable quarterfinals to look forward to. Am I right in saying that the Laddie Da is your bet? And where else would you be putting your money?
Yeah, no, I'm Deladidar and March on Freddie at about 3-1 and 4-1, something like that. So 4 dead and 5 dead on the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to be with cheap sandwiches. Whether I back him or not is a different matter. But I've got him anti-post, and obviously I did tell the listeners that even to go in again because I thought he was value in the previous round. I think Caricaldo has got a big chance to lead all the way. Yeah, of course, you're going to breathe in, but I actually think this dog's improving at the right time. So if he's doing 16, 80s and 90s to the third bend, he's going to be well clear. And yeah, Bocco's Diamond, but whether I'll be allowed to back him or not is a different matter. But I shall just get those rose tinted glasses on and be watching him with a big grin on my face because he is what Greyhound racing is all about. Watching
Yeah.
dogs break track records and do third bend clocks like he is, it's a joy to behold.
Yeah. I listen. I have to put it on record early in the week, and sometimes you're sort of almost hamstrung by your own tips. I think I just went for the 4 favorites in the heats in terms of on top of the card, but that doesn't mean they'd necessarily be the ones I backed.
Yeah, of course.
I tipped 11 out of 12 winners one night in Shelbourne Park, and I think I lost money on the night.
Yeah,
That's one of those things. I don't back the shortish ones. I'd be much more interested in dogs at bigger prices. Like yourself, if March on Freddie got to that sort of 4-1 sort of mark, I think I definitely have a nibble.
yeah,
Sing Along Dolly, just because I've after mentioning it in 2 or 3 places, I think I'd have to have a little nibble on her just at 8 or 10-1. I
yeah,
think that's perfectly fair price. You are literally betting on her just breaking.
yeah.
And if she does breaks, she's half that price.
She's
And
running well. She's running well.
she is running well. She is running well. And then, as I said, for the exchange purposes, I think I'll just be laying Carrigaldo. I think he'll qualify. I think he'll qualify pretty comfortably. I cannot see 3 dogs getting past him, but I think something will get in behind him. And then it's a case of can you hold him off? He doesn't have Bocco's Diamond dragging him around. You know what I mean? That 29-15 run just might be still in the legs. Like, it's a hell of a
Gotcha.
run, but you got
Yeah,
to remember it might still be in the legs. And while it's freakishly mild here in Dublin at the moment, it could well be a case going into the weekend. Conditions, you never know, might just turn and get a bit cooler. Like, as we are, like, it's nearly the middle of November now, so yeah. Let's see how they are on the night. I think if it is a very cold night or if it's wet, I think Carrigaldo can only drift in price. So that's where I'd be saying about that. But
you're right.
that's where I sit. It's a great card at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. We also have the quarterfinal heats of the Derby Plate. And of course, we have the semi-finals of the Puppy Oaks. Drubby's Kathleen is the new superstar of the Irish Greyhound racing scene. She was absolutely out of this world. She made it 3 from 3, winning in 27.77 PL. And I tell you what, if the track is every bit as good this week, I think she might just do the clock. She's improving at a rate of knots, and I
She is.
still think there's better to come from her.
And how do you think that the 6 box is going to affect her?
Just given the fact of what's on her inside, I think if she just stays straight for the first stride or two,
Hmm.
I think she'll be grand. I think she has more early speed than them. I'd be just concerned that she'll dive left. But if she traps, I think it's all over.
Yeah, I just get the impression, because of just the style, just the way that she goes about her business. I don't think she will be looking to go straight away to the fence.
Yeah.
When you get a quality dog in, and she just gives you that good feeling. I don't think she'll be stupid enough to do that. I think she'll just mind herself and she'll just edge in when the time's right and where the clear daylight is, I think so. I actually agree with you. I think she'll be all right out of 6. It's not ideal, of course, it's not, but she's just got so much quality that that I think she'll win all right, and she'll be 4 from 4. And of course, we've got the 12.5% starting as well, haven't we?
Yeah, the
On
tote on
Saturday.
the weekend.
So the
Yeah.
tote. So that's a great innovation that the GRI have fetched in. Obviously mirroring what Lifford have done with the 10%, and Lifford are going on SIS as well from Sunday. So that will give them a little bit more traction, and maybe people will realise that the tote can give you that value with that 12.5 sort of 10% value, and make some kind of interest for people to get involved at the track, and of course online as well. So yeah, that's something that's all added into the mix at Shelbourne Park, which looks absolutely stunning here.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there was a really good crowd there last Saturday. There should be an even bigger crowd this Saturday. And well, November 23rd is going to be, I tell you what, you're going to need a shoehorn to get them all in. It's an exciting time, for us in Irish Greyhound racing. And I'm lucky enough, Jesus, to be able to make it to Shelbourne Park every night. So yeah, I count I don't, I see how lucky I am in that situation. That's it, PL. The Matchbook Betting Exchange. Irish Greyhound Derby podcast number 4 is done and dusted. We'll be back next week with number 5 as we look ahead to the semi-finals, down to the final 12. But that's it from us to say. Again, check out all the promotions on the Matchbook Betting Exchange under the promotions tab. Of course, you'll get the Get 50 offer there. If you join up and bet £50 across 4 markets, you'll get £50 back as a free bet. Of course, Matchbook Insights is also there. Give you all the up-to-date tips and advice for the likes of the NFL, the football, horses, and of course ourselves in the doggy corner of Matchbook Betting Exchange. But that's it from us this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, whichever way you're watching it. We'll see you next time. Again, thanks to PL. Good luck, good evening, God bless.